Hello, beautiful ladies. I'm Marakita, and I'm excited to be here today. I've got a great guest. So thank you for joining, ladies. Let us know who is watching, and if you're on the replay, let us know where you're watching from. And we're excited that you could come join us. Please make sure to give StreamYard permission to use your name in the comments so we'll know who's commenting. And if you have any questions for us, please let us know. Any comments. I'm here with Coach Barby Ehrenberg, and she is an amazing coach, and her coaching is called Love Your Life Now. So I was really happy to get linked up with her. Thank you for waiting, ladies, because we had a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, well, afternoon. So anyway, let's get started. Coach Barby is full of wisdom. So Barbie, can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, and Marquita, it's so nice to be here with you today and with everyone. So I'm Barby Ehrenburg. I'm a women's empowerment coach, and I help women who are stuck and feel like they can't move forward to find out what the barriers are. Then we can attack them, we can neutralize them, and then create a wonderful plan to move forward. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just getting ready to launch a new coaching program. And it's all about some new tools and techniques that I've learned about the brain. So it's really exciting. So good to be here.
Thank you. Can you start off with us with a little grounding exercise for us whenever you're ready? I know that it would help to bring us all into a more peaceful place because, man, a lot of us have been running around all morning. I know I have.
It's just 7 o'clock here in Honolulu, and I've already been running around.
I forgot over there.
Let's do this. This is one I really like to do, and it's 6 deep breaths for centering. It's real simple. What we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through our nose, and I'll explain, and then we'll get started. Breathe out slowly through our mouth. And I'm going to be saying words, so you can say the words with me or you can just listen. Okay, so let's get started. So breathe in. I breathe in calm. I breathe out distractions. I breathe in calm. I breathe out confusion. I breathe in confidence. I breathe out fear. I breathe in confidence. I breathe out frustration. I breathe in self-worth. I breathe out self-doubt. I breathe in self-worth. I breathe out self-criticism. And so you can do this one or more times. You can repeat it when you're feeling like your negative chatter is sort of like getting on top of you. We're going to talk more about that today. And you can add in the words that make sense for you at the moment. These are the ones that make sense for me. So 6 breaths in, 6 breaths out.
That's a nice, easy thing to do.
And the nice thing about that is you don't have to remember anything. You can take it with you anywhere you are. And whether you're standing, sitting, walking, you can always take in deep breaths. It's just if you're walking, probably don't close your eyes.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, sometimes I forget. So today I wanted to talk about self-worth and where it's born, and where it's born, where it comes from. And so self-worth is really an inner concept. It's about how we value ourselves, how we tell ourselves what we value about ourselves. And so, being an inner concept, it has to come from inside. The problem is self worth has often been um, talked about or defined as something how other people see us. So, what their value is on what we've just accomplished, what we've accomplished in the past, or how they see just the value of who we are and what we bring to them. And so, do you have any concepts or frameworks for self-worth that you found working with people or just coming to the coaching practice?
Well, I think a lot of times that people are judging themselves on their skills and not on their inner abilities. But like, if I don't win this golf match, then I'm a bad person. I mean, saying I'm a bad person, and I mean, we're all light and dark. I don't know if there's anyone, I don't think there's anyone that's a bad person, right? And we're judging ourselves very harshly, but, and when we're stuck in that fixed mindset, maybe, I think that I'm a bad person because I can't win this golf tournament. But the fact is, I could practice more and elevate my golf skills. That has nothing to do with that. I'm a bad person, and that's, then I would carry that around for years thinking that.
And that's absolutely what happens. And so we have these things that we tell ourselves, we have these beliefs, and there's also the outside world. Like, I think in our culture and almost every culture around the world these days, what people think of us, how we look on the outside, has become very important. And so if we base our self-worth on that, let's see how that works. Let's say that my self-worth is based on what my very best friend thinks of me. Okay. Today,
Huh?
she's mad at me and I'm getting really low marks for worth. Okay. Tomorrow, she's absolutely in love with me and everything I do, and my marks shoot straight up. On the third day, she's sick and not feeling well, and she doesn't have anything good to say or think about anybody. And so when we're basing our self-worth on outer, what other people see and how we judge what they see, it's never going to be stable. We're going to be up and down all the time and feeling like, oh, today I'm a bad person. Next day, I'm a better person. Third day, oh, I'm a bad person again. Oh, this is never ending. And so if we look inside and we base our self-worth on what we think, because we're the important person, right? So a friend of mine, very wise friend, said, what other people think of you is none of your business. And I thought, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And it's so true. What my business is what I think of me. And so I develop my self-worth from the inner, and I look at inside me, what are my values today? What do I believe in? What is important to me? And I create my inner story about that. And we're able to have not only a more empowering self-worth, but it's more stable because we're the ones that are addressing it, not someone from the outside. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think a lot of times in relationships, I let the men side, my self-worth. I wasn't pretty enough, or I wasn't successful enough, right? And then, I mean, that just piled on me. I mean, every time I broke up with a guy, then there was another pile on me, of how I don't deserve and how awful I am. My gosh, I must be terrible because he left me and now he's happy and married, right? And
Right. And it's like we're taking someone else's word for who we are and what our value is. And the truth is that because we're creations of the creator, of source, God, goddess, whatever your terminology is, we're perfect individuals, we're divine, we have innate self-worth just because we are. And this is where we start. We're worthy, we're valuable, we feel good. And then what happens is, it's interesting because I've been doing a lot of work and study about the recent brain research, and it's telling us things about our brain that we didn't know before. And so we're walking around with a false concept of what our brain is doing. And one of the things that's happening is that we have this part of our brain. It's the most primitive part of our brain, so we'll call it primitive brain. And it's the brain that's there to keep us safe. So let's say early on in our early days, say as cave woman days, we're a cave woman, we're out walking, and we see this big, fierce, huge animal approaching us. Immediately, primitive brain yells, "Danger, danger, run for your life." So we do, we run for our life, we run back to the cave, and we're safe. So that was really helpful, and it was a good call on primitive brain's part. But primitive brain is primitive brain. And what happens is when we were growing up as little people, we weren't able to take care of ourselves, and we relied on the adults, our parents, and those around us to do that for us. And sometimes they got confused about how to take care of us. Let's say our parents yelled at us and called us mean names because we didn't do something right. Our little primitive brain absorbs that and records it. And our own little intellect doesn't really know how to make sense of that, but it does create a story, and it creates some beliefs, usually limiting, like, oh, mommy and daddy are mad at me, I'm a bad person. And that's what gets stored in primitive brain, and it stays there. This is the interesting thing. It stays there until we change it. So when we come across incidents now that are maybe uncomfortable, they're a little scary, they're new, they're frightening, primitive brain jumps in and tries to rescue us and keep us safe by saying, "You're a bad person, danger, danger, don't even relate," or, like, be careful about what you do. And it affects how we interact with people. If we're able to bring our personal inner self forward, our value, or are we just kind of like holding back and feeling very timid? So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love the way you laid that out. And Stephanie is saying hi to both of us, and she's
Hi,
saying
Stephanie.
this is such an important topic, especially for coaches. And the way you explain this is so relatable, Barbie. Powerful. So yeah, it is something that we don't think about, that we don't know, and we don't think necessarily that maybe that my little brain, my brain is still in the little girl mode of where someone said, "Oh, look at you, look at the way you're doing that," and I held that in for years and years and years, and I let that as a layer of self worth, you know, define what my beliefs about myself are, and then unconsciously I wouldn't even know that.
You wouldn't. And we don't know that until we learn how this part of the brain works. And it's still working this way. It's still trying to keep us safe. But what it's doing really is reinforcing the limiting beliefs and ideas we had about ourselves when we were little, in a situation where we couldn't protect ourselves. So we created ways to do that, barriers. And the nice thing is we can change that. So brain search is now finding out that whatever is in our brain, we can recreate those tapes. We can swap out positive tapes for the negative tapes. And with practice and the right tools, we can start creating an empowering narrative for ourselves so that we can really feel our self-worth from the inside out. And we don't have to ask anybody else's opinion. We don't need to, because we know our worth. And whenever we're interacting with anyone, that's what comes through. It's our confidence. It's our natural poise. It's our natural worth, our natural love for ourselves and others. And that's what's so exciting about this work.
Yeah, it is, and this can really heal. I just was talking to a lady the other day who said she didn't know. I mean, she wished that she loved herself, and she didn't even know how to start doing that. So that's a big point. I mean, how to even start loving yourself when you have all these, beliefs that aren't yours, right? Because these aren't your beliefs.
They were, yeah, they were given to us in circumstances that we couldn't control at the time. But the good news is we're adults now and we get to choose who we are. We get to choose our values. We get to choose what's important to us. And we get to choose what we believe about ourselves and others. But mostly it's important what we believe about ourselves, because when we believe that we are that worthy person, and we are just innately being human and being a child of the creator, we have that worth. When we have that, when we get that inside, then we can radiate that outside too, and it makes it so much easier than if someone tells us one day, oh yeah, you're wonderful, just remember that. So you go, I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful. And then something happens and our tape kicks in and says, nah, you're a bad person. Yeah, you know it, you've always known it. And the hard part is, because that tape, because that inner voice, our mental chatter, that mean girl, is really insistent and very powerful. We believe it. We start to believe it. We go, oh no, if I keep telling myself this, if this is what my brain says, it has to be true. Mommy and daddy knew and I didn't know. So I'm a bad person. So we get in there and we go, nope, let's do some work on this right now. So I'd like to go through a simple exercise of sort of like getting in there and stopping that negative chatter dead in its tracks. So can we do that right now?
Yes, I would love that. Thank you.
Okay, great. So it's a pretty simple process and it's called which thought feels better. So you can do it with a piece of paper and you can do it in your mind. So right now I'm going to talk you through it and you can mentally see what it looks like. So let's say that we're working with a piece of paper and a pencil. So we turn a regular piece of paper on its side so it's wide. Okay, and then we're going to have two columns. The left-hand column is going to be about a third of the width of the page, and then the right-hand column will be 2/3. On the left, our label up there is negative chatter, and on the right, the column header is my true self. So let's just start with one, okay? And so one of the things that you just brought up is I'm a bad person. So I write I'm a bad person, and I go, that doesn't feel very good. Is that really true for me right now? Is that true in every instance? And I think, no, I'm a good person. I can think of all these different reasons why I'm a good person. And so I start to list them. I helped, I helped Mary move today. I gave to charity. I tutor young girls and help them find their self-worth. I am a good person and I deserve good things. And so you can write down, I am a person and I deserve good things on the right side of the page. And so we look at that. Left side of the page says, I'm a bad person. Right side of the page says, I'm a good person and I do good things. Which thought feels better?
I'm a good person.
I'm a good person and I do good things. This is my truth and it is the truth. And so I substitute I'm a bad person, that tape in my head, for I'm a good person and I do good things. And it does take some practice and it does take some tools. But right there in the moment, if you say, I've decided, I have chosen that I'm a good person and I do good things, and you really let that resonate, it's going to stop your negative chatter in its tracks. And then what I do from there is we do more work to make that permanent. And then we cover all the other misconceptions we have about our beautiful, loving self that we got from our parents, or maybe someone said something to us like the guy that broke up with us and said, you're no good. Well, of course we're good. I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And if he tells us you're no good, it's more about him than it is about us. And we need to know that. So we need to know that chatter in our minds when it comes up and gets really insistent, it isn't true and it doesn't reflect who we are right now. So we can work on that. We can make that something that does reflect. And when it does reflect our true self and our true value from the inside out, our self-confidence soars and our self-worth takes a big jump up, and we work from that. That's our new platform. That's how we get ahead. So how does that sound?
That sounds good. And what I really liked was how you said, that you're choosing it, so you're not, I mean, because we make a choice. If we just say, I feel great, I mean, it's not as powerful as I say, I choose to feel great. There's a deliberate action there that does make a difference. So, and with time, um, I mean, things shift. I mean, what happened in your life to cause this shift? Were you always like this, Barbie?
I wish. No, just quickly, I grew up in I love my family. I had a mom and dad and an older sister, and they were wonderful people. But my mom and dad grew up in you could say dysfunctional, disempowering households, and that's how they learned to parent. And so that's how they parented us, thinking that they were helping us, giving us pointers like, oh, can't you do anything right? Try to do it better. It's like, wow, for a little kid, it's like, well, I thought I did a really good job, but I guess I didn't. So I can't do anything right. And so I grew up with all of those tapes. I thought they were true, of course, because I didn't have any way to know. So when I started this work about, where are these thoughts coming from, these disempowering, very just, I guess, just um, they're enervating, they sap our energy. Where are these coming from? And I begin to see how the brain works. And I realize that I, as an adult, have a choice. I have a choice. That is so cool. When I realized that I had a choice, then I began to do the work. I began to go through finding out, specifically identifying what my self chatter was, what my negative ideas were about myself, and my limiting beliefs. Then I could address that. I could create the positive things, the things that I knew about myself as an adult, because I'd seen myself in action in the good times. And then I create new structures, new thoughts, and I'm able to, with practice and repetition, so repetition makes permanent. I'm able to swap out the old tapes for the new. And I find that as I move forward with more and more new tapes, I have a different perspective on life. So I feel the joy that's my innate privilege as a human being, as a good human being. I love myself. I love others. I treat them with respect. I try to treat them as well as I would want myself to be treated. And so with that perspective, it changes everything, really, don't you think?
Yeah, it does. And we can shift our whole personality, once we're aware, because like first, I remember watching something on the brain talking about first we get in a bad mood, and then if it stays for a while, it stays for a while, it becomes a temperament. And if it stays for, months and months and years, it's going to be a personality shift. But, so if we are in that place of not believing in ourselves, we can just shift out of it slowly, that whole thing, and change who we are. And I loved what you said about, your parents. I mean, the empathy you had for your parents, because a lot of us, we had parents and they didn't know, they did the best they could. Maybe they were overwhelmed. Dad's going to work all the time and mom's trying to take care of, 5 kids, or she's trying to work and do everything. And they're just doing the best they can. And they don't realize, yeah, that a lot of times they might say something that's just going to stick. It might be something very casually they say, but we hold on to it as children, you know?
Yeah, and the nice thing is, and I just have to say that my empathy for my parents came a little later, when I when I realized, more of what was going on, when I had more of a mature intellect to do that, because I didn't always like my parents, but I always loved them so much.
Yeah, that's true. And where did they learn to parent is the question. Like it's if they didn't learn how to parent, right? Or if they had some traumatic instances, they're bringing all that to being a parent. So, you know, it's a very complex issue there. And so, and yeah, I think it's definitely easier to take on when you have become mature and can see things from a different point of view. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who think their parents are hurt, and and not understanding. It just comes down to understanding really in depth of what people went through and what they were going through, and their limitations too. Maybe they never understood that they were beautiful, so they couldn't, you know.
Right. And for them to have understood that they were beautiful, they probably needed to be parented that way. And I know for a fact my parents weren't, you know. And so they were stumbling through life, wonderful people, stumbling through life, you know, raising their kids the best they could and trying to help their kids, keep them safe. And so what happens is we end up with these, you know, these negative words, these limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I can't do anything right. And so now we realize, oh my gosh, I've got these tapes that are running, and the primitive brain just does this automatically. It's a default mode to save energy. So whatever's there, primitive brain's going to toss that in. We have the ability, we have the right to change these tapes to make them more positive, and then we install them with practice, and our brain begins to repeat those things. So let's say that we've been working on, I can't do anything right, I'm no good, to I am a very powerful person, I'm a valuable person, I have so many gifts to give. And so in an uncertain time, that tape's been installed, and default mode starts running that tape, and we're going, yeah, I can handle this situation because I know my worth and I feel so much confidence going in. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can present my best foot forward and just kind of roll with what's going on in that situation.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And it sounds like you really have a good thing going with your coaching program. So, actually, why don't you tell us about that? How ladies can reach out to you, and whatever other, because we're coming up on 30 minutes here, and I just want you to make sure that you say everything you want to say, and also tell us about where you are, what you're doing, and how we can reach you.
Thank you. So I'll give you my email address. It's pretty simple, and you can write this down. It's BARBE at cox.net. And so what I'd like to do is offer all of your wonderful ladies, they just have to email me and write gifts as the subject. I'm offering them a 30-minute breakthrough consultation so that we can talk about, like where are they stuck, like do they know the words? Do they know the disempowering beliefs that they've got? And then we can find some solutions. And I can tell them about my 5-step program that goes through these 2 steps and 3 more. And I'll also offer them a written description and guide for using the 2 exercises that we talked about today. So again, I'm Barby Enhrenburg, Coach Barby. My coaching practice is Love Your Life Now, and you can reach me at BARBE at cox.net.
Well, I want everyone to take you up on that wonderful offer, because we're all here together, right, to support each other. And if anybody's been watching, or watching the replay, to any questions, to let us know. We'll be checking, and because we're here to help other people. We've been there, both of us, and
Yeah.
so we've dug our way out, did what we had to do, and now we know how to help others, right? And then you're a very powerful and wise wealth of information, Barbie. So I'm so thankful that you could come, and
Me too. It's been wonderful, and always interacting with you, Mariquita, is wonderful. I always learn wonderful things from you. So thank you again, mahalo, for having me on today. And yeah, get in touch with me, and we'll get started on a few things that can help you.
well, thanks for joining from Hawaii. That was just really special. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. But
Oh, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here with lots of sunshine. It's early 7:30, but what a wonderful way to start my day. So mahalo, and I appreciate it so much. It's been so much fun.
thanks, y'all. Thanks, ladies, for watching. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.